We have amongst ourselves a very distinguished, a legendary cricketer, Mr. Aravinda de Silva, the World Cup winning member in 1996, and we are very lucky and fortunate to have him amongst us. We would like to begin this session with Mr. Silva having some introductory remark about his experience as a former Test cricketer, as a former world champion, and also his experience in running various organizations in sports and the issues that may crop up, which inevitably we, the lawyers, have to come and address. So I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Aravinda de Silva to give his initial remarks. Thank you.
Morning to you all, members of the head table and friends from all around Asia. First of all, let me tell you how I ended up here. I went for this event the other day, and then I invited a couple of them home yesterday. And I was told that there was this event which is happening this morning, whether I would come and give the open remarks at this event. So I guess I was not really prepared to give a speech as such, but I thought let me come and see what's happening and talk about my experiences and what I thought how the legal system should work towards reacting to the modern day of sport. I remember on my tour of New Zealand in 1991, if I'm not mistaken, there was the first, I think it was the first Lawyers Cricket tournament. And we had a team from Sri Lanka as well who came and watched our test match at Wellington. And it was a lucky day for me. I ended up getting a double 100 on that particular day. So ever since that day, I remember some of these lawyers came and wanted me to come and attend. Very, very supportive and helpful as and whenever they required any sort of support. But nevertheless, on today's event, I think it's for you lawyers, I think with ChatGPT coming into effect, maybe it's good time for you to take up another sport or another profession. So maybe all of you all can focus on cricket. But you talk about ChatGPT, 60s against some of the latter known countries like Malaysia, and they had a couple of unofficial tours to India which took place, and I remember it was not a professional game, but we started in 1983. That's when I joined the team, and the game gradually transformed from that time to now, which has become a much more commercially viable sport in Sri Lanka. So looking at sport as a commercial venture, I think it is very, very important for the legal system also to be aligned with it. Because when you really look at it, you're playing around with people's careers. When someone gets picked to play for the country, unlike those days, it becomes their career and they have made such a lot of sacrifices to get there. Hence, you need to make sure the groundwork is done in the legal system as well as on the administrative side is in place. So what I have identified on some of the changes are, if you really dig deep, you will see how cricket has been made a commercial sport. So if you look at television rights, is one area which you really need to focus on, and how transparent it should be. And players' rights to be protected, because they are an important and integral part of the sport. Then comes the association who supports them, and also to make sure that the selection process of these members to the association is streamlined and looked into, how you should get the proper kind of people involved in these associations. And lastly, the commercial aspect of tournaments. Because at the end of the day, I think the most important aspect is to make sure that you have the right people in the right spots. Who are running the sport has to be qualified people to hold those officers in those respective associations. I think that is very important, for the simple fact that you need to understand, as I said before, they're playing around with careers. And I have been part of that. So we have to make sure every aspect is covered like in a listed corporate, a financial institution, to be more precise, because when you look at a financial institution, the central bank monitors it on a constant basis and makes sure that irregularities doesn't happen. And they also look at taking precautions on future situations which they might end up facing. So for that, like working on a constitution of a country, you need to keep working at it, because things keep changing. With social media coming into effect, there could be a lot of impact on players per se. So you need to be able to control those things through regulation. And also bringing in too stiff regulation is not the ideal thing. So that is why I feel there should be constant watching and understanding where you need regulation to be brought in, and not to strive progress, but also to make sure they're streamlined. So I was just given a paper, because I came here and I just saw everyone, all the speakers having notes, just like preparing for a case. But I just walked in and I was just trying to figure out what am I going to say today. And I was given a piece of paper to say that this new IPL has started with some thing to say that there's an app which had come up and they're trying to raise funds through that to be awarded to the man of the match. So I think it's always good for players to be able to earn more revenue, and I think that shouldn't be something which the regulation should block, because we should try and encourage them to enhance their income. And how do you do it within reason, and how you streamline the processes? I think that is what financial businesses are all about. You take banks, banks keep growing, but you have to work within regulations, but too much regulation becomes an issue for any bank to grow. So I think that should be the approach for you all to look at sport as well, and look at this in a very proactive manner, because things keep changing so fast, and unless sport is given a new look and change happens on a regular basis, it becomes a boring sport. So if you look at cricket, how it has grown, we started by playing test cricket, and then it changed to one-day cricket, which became more popular. And then the commercial aspect of it was dying. People saw there was no time for most people to come to the ground and spend to watch the sport. So they came out with this T20, and even the T20 at some point might become an issue for people to even spend that 3 hours. So they bought in the 100 ball. So things can change, but I think similarly, even the legal system needs to be proactive to look at these changes and work around as to how we make it that much more exciting for all parties. So even on the sport itself, there are so many changes which happened throughout my career. So if you look at the one-day game, we started in Australia. They started a 15-over power play in the 80s, which some of the countries didn't adopt in the subcontinent initially. But as soon as they found someone like Srikanth in the Indian team, we had that same rule applied in India, and there was a lot of advantages for batsmen who were aggressive in the first 15 overs, and we really transformed it and understood the impact of it only after 1996, that we had a real conscious as to working out as to how we are going to take advantage of that 15 over rule. So playing especially in the subcontinent, and we had to look at options of moving some of the batsmen who were batting down the order, up the order, to try and make sure that advantage was taken into our strength, and then build a team across those strategies. So similarly, then the power plays changed again, where now you get another power play down the innings to make it a little bit more interesting and to get rid of the monotonous way of batting from the 15th over all the way up to the 45th, 46th over. So they brought in another power play into the 41st over, where again combinations of teams had to be changed to look at big hitters coming in the middle overs as well, and the batting lineups had to be shifted and changed. So I think that's why I say regulation makes changes for strategy as well. So we need to be very careful in whatever we do. Player protection, and sometimes players are being wrongly, there are allegations against players being expressed in a wrong manner. So you need to be punishing those people as well, the ones who bring in allegations without proper rules or proper things happening. So I think the most important thing is to look at all these aspects and work out and formulate something which will suit the future sport to grow. I think that is the key, and to help the players also to play in an environment which is much more happier, and more so to be able to make a career out of the sport. And I would like to thank you all for inviting me, and wish your association all the very best, and for it to grow from strength to strength. And I would like to see a World Lawyers Tournament coming to Sri Lanka, and hope it will happen soon, and my support will be there at any time if you need. Thank you very much.